Hello, second grade, and welcome back to our Witches Read Aloud. We are halfway through the next chapter. We have made it out of the ballroom. Yes! Oh, it's getting so hot up in that attic. And we have now escaped the hotel staff, and we've made it to Grandmama's. She will know what to do. Grandmama knows that she can set it right. She can do everything. She knows all about witches and their secret plans. So Grandmama's got this, right? She can do it. I don't know. Let's listen and find out. Grandmother had come forward now in her armchair, so that she was sitting right on the edge of it. Both her hands were cupped over the gold knob of the stick that she always used when walking, and she was staring at me with eyes as bright as two stars. Then I told her how the Grand High Witch had shot out the fiery white-hot sparks, and how they had turned one of the other witches into a puff of smoke. "I've heard about that," my grandmother cried out excitedly, "but I never quite believed it. You are the first non-witch ever to see it happening. It is the Grand High Witch's most famous punishment. It is known as getting fried, and all the other witches are petrified of having it done to them. I am told that the Grand High Witch makes it a rule to fry at least one witch at each annual meeting. She does it in order to keep the rest of them on their toes." "But they don't have any toes, Grandmama." "I know they don't, my darling, but please, go on." So then I told my grandmother about the delayed action mouse maker, and when I came to the bit about turning all the children of England into mice, she actually leapt out of her chair shouting, "I knew it! I knew they were brewing up something tremendous." "We've got to stop them," I said. She turned and stared at me. "You can't stop witches," she said. "Just look at the power that terrible Grand High Witch has in her eyes alone. She could kill any of us at any time with those white-hot sparks of hers. You saw it yourself." "Even so, Grandmama, we've still got to stop her from turning all the children of England into mice." "You haven't quite finished," she said. "Tell me about Bruno. How did they get him?" So I described how Bruno Jenkins had come in, and how I had actually seen him with my own eyes being shrunk into a mouse. My grandmother looked at Bruno, who was guzzling away in the bowl of bananas. "Does he ever stop eating?" she asked. "Never," I said. "Can you explain something to me, Grandmama?" "I'll try," she said. She reached out and lifted me off the table and put me on her lap. Very gently she began stroking the soft fur along my back. It felt nice. "What is it you want to ask me, my darling?" she said. "The thing I don't understand," I said, "is how Bruno and I are still able to talk and think just as we did before." "Oh, it's quite simple," my grandmother said. "All they've done is to shrink you and give you fur and 4 legs and a furry coat, but they haven't been able to change you into a 100% mouse. You are still yourself in everything except your appearance. You've still got your own mind and your own brain and your own voice, and thank goodness for that. So I'm not really an ordinary mouse at all. I'm a sort of mouse person." "Quite right," she said. "You are a human in mouse's clothing. You are very special." We sat there in silence for a few moments while my grandmother went on stroking me very gently with one finger and puffing her cigar with the other hand. The only sound in the room was made by Bruno as he attacked the bananas in the bowl. But I wasn't doing nothing as I lay there on her lap. I was thinking like mad. My brain was whizzing as it had never whizzed before. "Grandmama," I said, "I may have a bit of an idea." "Yes, my darling, what is it?" "The Grand High Witch told them her room was number 454, right?" "Right," she said. "Well, my room is 554. Mine, 554, is on the 5th floor, so hers, 454, will be on the 4th floor." "That is correct," my grandmother said. "Then don't you think it's possible that room 454 is directly underneath room 554? "That's more than likely," she said. "These modern hotels are all built like boxes of bricks. But what if it is?" "Would you please take me out to my balcony so I can look down?" I said. All the rooms in the Hotel Magnificent had small private balconies. My grandmother carried me through into my own bedroom and out onto my balcony. We both peered down to the balcony immediately below. "Now if that is her room," I said, "then I'll bet I could climb down there somehow and get in." "And get caught all over again," my grandmother said. "I won't allow it." "At this moment," I said, "all the witches are down on the Sunshine Terrace having tea with the manager. The Grand High Witch probably won't be back until 6 o'clock or just before. That's when she's going to dish out the supplies of that foul formula to the ancient ones who are too old to climb trees after Gruntle's eggs." "And what if you did manage to get into her room?" my grandmother said. "What then?" "Then I should try to find the place where she keeps a supply of delayed action mouse maker, and if I succeeded then I would steal 1 bottle of it and bring it back here." "Could you carry it?" "I think so," I said. "It's a very small bottle." "I'm frightened of that stuff," my grandmother said. "What would you do with it if you did manage to get it?" "1 bottle is enough for 500 people," I said. "That would give each and every witch down there a double dose at least. We could turn them all into mice." My grandmother jumped about an inch in the air. We were out on my balcony, and there was a drop of about 1,000,000 feet below us, and I very nearly bounced out of her hand over the railings when she jumped. "Be careful with me, Grandmama," I said. "What an idea!" she cried. "It's fantastic! It's tremendous! You're a genius, my darling!" "Wouldn't it be something?" I said. "Wouldn't that really be something?" "We'd get rid of every witch in England in one swoop," she cried, "and the Grand High Witch into the bargain." "We've got to try it," I said. "Listen," she said, nearly dropping me over the balcony once again in her excitement. "If we brought this off, it would be the greatest triumph in the whole history of witchery." "There's a lot of work to do," I said. "Of course there's a lot of work to do," she said. "Just for a start, supposing you did manage to get hold of one of those bottles. How would you get it into their food?" "We'll work that out later," I said. "Let's try to get the stuff first. How can we find out for sure if that's her room just below us?" "We shall check it out immediately," my grandmother cried. "Come along. There's not a second to waste." Carrying me in one hand, she went bustling out of the room and along the corridor, banging her stick on the carpet with each step she took. We went down the stairs 1 flight to the 4th floor. The bedrooms on either side of the corridor had their numbers painted on the doors in gold. "Here it is," my grandmother cried. "Number 454. She tried the door. It was locked, of course. She looked up and down the long, empty hotel corridor. "I do believe you're right," she said. "This room is almost certainly directly below yours." She marched back along the corridor, counting the number of doors. From the Grand High Witch's room to the staircase, there were 6. She climbed back up to the 5th floor and repeated the exercise. "She is directly below you," my grandmother cried out. "Her room is right below yours." She carried me back into my own bedroom and went out once again onto the balcony. "That's her balcony down there," she said, "and what's more, the door from her balcony into her bedroom is wide open. How are you going to climb down?" "I don't know," I said. "Our rooms were in the front of the hotel, and they looked down... Our rooms were in the front of the hotel, and they looked down onto the beach and the sea immediately below my balcony. Thousands of feet below, I could see a fence of spiked railings. If I fell, I'd be a goner." "I've got it!" my grandmother cried. With me in her hand, she rushed back into her own room and began rummaging in the chest of drawers. She came out with a ball of blue knitting wool. One end of it was attached to some needles and a half-finished sock she had been knitting for me. "This is perfect," she said. "I shall put you in the sock and lower you down onto the Grand High Witch's balcony. But we must hurry. Any moment now that monster will be returning to her room." Wow. Looks like we are stuck being a mouse for now with Bruno, but we are hatching a plan. 454554. Looks like his room is directly above the Grand High Witch. So he's got a way to get down there, get in, and maybe do something. He wants to get a bottle of this stuff This sounds very dangerous, but can't be that dangerous. They're all out at tea, so what could possibly go wrong? Something could go wrong? No, he's already a mouse. What else could go wrong? How does it get any worse from here? I don't know. Either way, tune in next time. We'll find out what happens. See ya.